Hi guys! Today I'm going to be doing something that I haven't done for ages, which is shameful considering what I say that I do on this channel, which is film and television content. I haven't done any film content in a really long time. Today I have a review for you of a film that I went to see last night and I am still thinking about it and want to just sit and talk about it. This is a review of the film Lion, starring Dev Patel, Nicole Kidman, Rooney and an incredible new breakout child star named Pawar. This review is going to include spoilers. I am going to be talking in detail about what happens in the film, so if you are going to go and see it and you haven't seen it yet, please do not watch this video, switch it off now and come back and watch it once you've seen it. If you have seen it though, let's talk about it. The film Lion is based on a true story, which just absolutely blows my mind every time I think about the fact that this really happened. It tells the story of a young boy in India who gets separated from his brother when they're out scavenging and doing sort of odd jobs to try and help their mother. They get separated and this young boy, who's 5 years old, finds himself on a train all the way to Calcutta, which is like 2 days away from his home, and gets lost. He then spends a good couple of months just on the streets of Calcutta by himself. There are a lot of very dangerous situations that he gets into, which he has narrow escapes from, until eventually he is found and put into an orphanage. After he's put into the orphanage, he eventually gets adopted by an Australian couple and moves to Tasmania. He lives a very happy life there with very loving, supportive, wonderful parents. Nicole Kidman plays his mother and she plays this part wonderfully. But once he's in his late 20s, he starts having sort of flashbacks to his childhood. Someone on his university course suggests that he could use Google Earth, which is technology that had really just kind of come out at that point. This was back in 2007, and he suggests that he uses Google Earth to try and track down exactly where he's come from. He then goes on a very long, difficult journey striving to do that, looking through miles of statistics on train speeds and trying to calculate how far that he came from wherever he was to get to Calcutta and the time frame that it was. And bearing in mind he was 5 years old when this happened, and eventually he manages, through sheer determination and a bit of luck, to stumble across on Google Earth the place that he grew up. He in his head can track the footsteps that he used to take, the paths that he used to take to get from, you know, the nearest sort of town to where his house was. He can picture it all in his head and take that walk, and he's just so determined to get back there to find his family. So when he makes the journey to get back there and he's walking through this town to try and find his family, it's an emotional roller coaster. As we all know, if we've seen the film, it has an incredible ending in that he manages to find his mother. It's a heartbreaking ending in that his brother has died, and not only that, but his brother died the night that he vanished. So that's just very, very hard to process, but the fact that he manages, after 25 years of being lost and living in Australia, to track his family down using this piece of technology and find his house where he grew up when he was 5 years old is just incredible. This is the most beautiful film. I cried, I think, probably once roughly every 5 minutes from the start of the film to the end of the film. The way that they shot the first sort of half, because really the first third of the film at least, I'm trying to think back to the sort of timing of it. The film's about 2 hours long, and I would say the first sort of third of the film at least is this young boy and showing what happened when he got lost. So you meet him and his brother in the start of the film in the most beautiful shots of them out surrounded by butterflies, and they're out sort of scavenging to try and steal coal to get back to their mother, to get them, you know, to get them enough money to get milk. And scenes like that are so heartbreaking but also so beautifully done. The way that these scenes were shot is just stunning. So the very opening of the film had me totally hooked, and you sort of meet these brothers and you see this connection between them. The casting was excellent because that young boy is incredible. I've watched a lot of sort of interviews and stuff online last night after I watched the film to hear people sort of talking about it and talking about him, and they started off with 2,000 potential little boy actors who they kind of whittled down and down and down until the director eventually chose Sonny, which is unbelievable. But this kid has never acted before. He's in the start of the process would have been 5 years old. He was 6 years old when they filmed it. He's 8 years old now, and he is stupendous. You cannot take your eyes off him for the entire first half of this film. He's a beautiful child, but he's just so compelling to watch. He plays this part so well, and to be a 5-year-old or 6-year-old kid who's, you know, just been thrown into this, he's unbelievable. The first half of the film broke my heart. They obviously, you know, the way that it's done is telling that this kid's real experience, and so when you're thinking about that, when you're watching it, I think that's why I just kept crying because I was watching this tiny little kid, and the way that they shot it, they had him, I was reading a few interviews with sort of various people involved last night, and they were talking about how they sort of shot these huge wide shots to kind of highlight how tiny he is in the midst of all this chaos, in the middle of busy train stations and, you know, chaotic streets. This tiny little kid all on his own, he couldn't speak the language, he was lost, and it just broke my heart. So he was absolutely incredible. I thought Dev Patel was absolutely fantastic. I think he played it very nicely in that you saw that sort of gradual sort of desperation setting in from when we kind of meet him again. We see him sort of being introduced to his new family and sort of settling in there, and then they've adopted another young boy who doesn't settle in quite as well, and we see the sort of process of that. But then we sort of miss out the next 20 years of his life and meet him again when he's 25 and he's going off to Melbourne to go to university to do a hotel management course, and you sort of miss out that middle chunk of his life that was obviously a very happy upbringing, and he's been very loved and cared for, and you see him sort of setting off to sort of, you know, go on his own path now. And at that point, at least outwardly, he seems very happy, very secure, very confident. He gets to university, he meets Rooney Mara's character Lucy, who he starts to date, and they have a really nice chemistry, and you know, he seems pretty settled. And it's not until he is sort of sitting discussing his childhood with other Indian classmates who say to him, well, wouldn't you want to try and, you know, use this technology to find your family? And you start to see how troubling it actually is to him that he has these memories of his mother and his brother, that he knows they're still out there, and he knows how worried they'll have been for the rest of their lives about whatever happened to him and how badly they would have missed him, and how difficult that is for him to kind of process, and how difficult it is for him in terms of that sort of poverty that he was born in and the struggle that they had, and then this very privileged life that he's then sort of accidentally found himself in because he got lost. I think it deals with that sort of theme of identity very nicely. He doesn't initially, when his classmates are sort of saying, oh, so, you know, where were you from? And he says that he was found in Calcutta, but he's not Indian, he was raised in Australia, and there's a sort of distancing there, I think, that, you know, from the real Saru, from his real perspective, you can imagine that really conflicted feeling of knowing that you have a family out there who didn't abandon you. It was just a horrible accident that you got lost, and then you found yourself in this other family who are wonderful and they love you. But I think it dealt with that kind of that idea of adoption and that idea of identity very nicely. Nicole Kidman was absolutely excellent in this film. I really enjoyed her performance as his mother. I think that she played it very well. Rooney Mara didn't, to be honest, have a massive amount to do, which I felt a bit bad for, but in the scenes that she was in, I really liked her character, and I think that she was a really supportive person for him to have in his life at such a difficult time. So that was really nice. And yeah, everything about it, the soundtrack, the score to this film was beautiful and very sweeping, and got under my skin along with the story, and so just made me cry even more. Don't know about you, but it's usually music in scenarios like that really gets me. And so the soundtrack was beautiful. The way that it was shot was absolutely stunning. As I say, those initial scenes with the butterflies were just, from the word go, I was just totally captivated. And the performances of everyone in this film were excellent. So yeah, I have very positive feelings about this film. I read a few reviews that said that they felt that it sort of faltered a little bit in the second half, where the first half was very strong, where it was sort of centred on young Saru getting lost and what happened to him in India. Some people felt that in the Australia section of it, it got drawn out a little bit too long, that it could have been condensed a bit. To be perfectly honest, I didn't feel that while I was watching it. I didn't feel like it went on for too long. Sometimes you feel that, you feel like it's sort of filler that they're putting in to just make it last a bit longer. But I didn't feel that at all. I thought that it worked really nicely, and there wasn't really much of it that I would have said needed to be cut. I think that the people who were saying that were feeling that kind of Saru's sort of descent into that desperation maybe went on for a little bit too long. I personally didn't feel that. I think that it worked very, very nicely, and honestly, I can't think of anything to say about it that I would say I didn't enjoy about it, other than the fact that it was utterly heartbreaking, which, because of the way that the story then turned out, you know, it felt like this really lovely emotional sort of resolution at the end. And the fact that it's based on this true story is just so incredible. The fact that that is one story out of apparently 80,000 kids on average every year go missing in India, and they're working with the people who've made this film are working with charities in India to try and help them and give them money to try and, you know, help some of these kids that are out there lost in the streets. So that I think is really great if they're going to really be pushing for good work to be done there. There's a website that I went on to look at last night where you can donate to some of these charities, so I really love that aspect of it. But yeah, I loved it. I thought it was incredible. If you've seen the film, which I assume that you have since you've watched this video, let me know in the comments down below what you thought of it, if there were elements of it that you didn't like, if you agree that it went on a little bit too long, or if, like me, you thought that it worked perfectly. Also, let me know, I'm sure you did, but let me know how much you loved the performance of Sunny as young Saru. I thought he was just spectacular, so I could sit and talk about how wonderful I thought he was all day. So let me know in the comments down below what you thought. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Let me know in the comments down below also what films you've been to see recently, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye!